While a part of human history for many generations, keeping a kitchen garden has made a resurgence in our modern age. And it's a living, breathing experience, and it has the unique ability to stimulate all of our senses while relaxing our mind at the same time. Growing your own produce is nothing new, as it's been a deep-rooted part of our history for generations. And kitchen gardens in particular have been around since Roman times. And if you want to know the difference between a regular garden and a kitchen garden, regular gardens are focused on production. That's when you see rows and rows of vegetables that are planted in quantity that are designed for preservation. A kitchen garden is usually much smaller and it's closer to the house so that you can just run out your door and grab whatever it is that you would like to have in your meal for that day. So things like lettuce, tomatoes, herbs all form part of your typical kitchen garden. If we could have seen the kitchen gardens in the 18th and 19th centuries, we would have been absolutely blown away because they grew a huge variety of things, way more than we could ever imagine. Not only did they have the typical repertoire of fruit and vegetables and some culinary herbs, but they also had medicinal herbs, and they also had plants used for dyeing clothes. People kept bees, they had fish ponds, kept doves. It was a very big endeavor because this is how people survived before the agricultural revolution. Your food supply for your family depended upon the success of your gardens, because in those days they didn't have well-developed highways, they didn't have well-developed train tracks, and it was very difficult to transport fresh food from one area of a nation to the other. So people were dependent on what they could grow with whatever space they had, and that's exactly what they did. Gardening is so good for our mental health and our well-being, calming us, relieving worries and anxiety, and it's also about teaching us patience and giving us hope, because when we plant something, we have hope for the future that we're going to see whatever it is that we've planted come to fruition. And it gives us a little bit of self-confidence as well, because it's so good to be able to grow a bit of your own food. Now, I am a novice gardener. I've only been doing it a few years, but I'll take you on a tour and show you what I have growing in my little kitchen garden. So if I start over by my side fence, I have a few blueberry plants here, and they're not ready yet, but they are starting to get some little buds on them, little berries starting. And then I also have a lavender plant. I like to keep lots of lavender around for the bees. And then over here I have some chives, I have mustard greens growing in this container. I had some extra carrot seeds, so I just put them in that container there. I also have a really sunny driveway, so to make use of the space, because my garden is small, I planted some things in these Rubbermaid tubs, and you can see right here I already have a cucumber growing in there, which is nice. And I'm okay to plant these in my driveway because the deer don't like the leaves because they're prickly. So they'll leave these alone. And I also have some potatoes growing in tubs like these, and it's just a good way to maximize the space. I also have a young 5-way apple tree, and what this means is that I have 5 different types of apples growing on one tree. So here I have Gala apples, I have Brayburns, this one's a Fuji, and then I have Honeycrisp, and then a red Macintosh as well. And the nice thing about these is they will pollinate with each other, so it doesn't need a mate, even though I do have a 4-way apple tree in my backyard, but they will pollinate with each other, so that is a fabulous way to just have one tree and a few different kinds of apples. And of course, it wouldn't be an Italian household unless there was a fig tree, so that's what we have here. Now, this one does need a pollinator. I just have one tree, but luckily my neighbor across the street from me has a tree, my neighbor behind me has a tree, and also my neighbor diagonal from me has a tree, so they all are very happy with each other. And I have so many figs on there this year. I'm going to have a bumper crop of figs, so I'm very, very happy about that. And then over in this section, I have some pots with some chocolate mint, and then I have some thyme and sage over here. This is just a nice rose plant. And then I've got lots of spearmint over there. couple of zucchini plant, and yes, I have another zucchini hiding in behind there. I have bush beans, and I love bush beans because they don't need to be staked and they're very low maintenance and they're pretty good little producers. This is just what I picked yesterday, so I'm getting about a couple of handfuls a day, and I've got probably about 18 plants, and they are awesome. And then over here I have 3 cherry tomato plants, and then over here I have some plants that my mom gave me, and I'm not sure what the variety of tomatoes are. They might be Romas. I'm not sure. I am not a tomato connoisseur, but I have 6 plants of that particular variety. And then over here I have some San Marzano tomatoes that my friend Sheila gave me, and she gave me 2 of these plants. And these are going to be great for canning spaghetti sauce, so I can't wait to use those. And if I step into my greenhouse, I have a couple of pepper plants here. And this is the 3rd or 4th time that I've tried peppers. And they're doing really well in the greenhouse because I had them outside in years past and they just didn't produce and they didn't grow. But look at how beautifully these are doing now that I've kept them in the greenhouse, because I just discovered that peppers like heat, but they don't like a lot of sun. So I just kind of have them tucked away in the corner, and they seem so happy here. So I'm really glad that these are working out. And over here I have some gorgeous basil, which I actually need to harvest because it's starting to get the little spikes on them. But I end up making probably about 12-15 jars of pesto with this and store it in the freezer, and that lasts us nicely through the winter. And then on this side I just have a tub with some lettuce in it and a few green onions. And then over here this is all zucchini, and these are producing so well for me. I picked 12 the other day. And I'd use an old Italian recipe where I do a little bit of kind of a pickling with them, and then I store them under olive oil and put them in the pantry, and they last a year. So I'm very happy to have zucchini that are producing very well. Now, I preserve zucchini a couple of different ways, and one of the things I do with them is make zucchini relish. And if you've never had zucchini relish before, it is so good. I think it's way better than cucumber relish, and my husband loves it as well. And if we don't have a jar of it in the house, he's very disappointed and reminds me to make it. So it is so good and easy to do. I'm starting out with 4 or 5 good sized zucchini, and I put them in a food processor to chop them up finely. And when they're done, I put them in a colander, add some salt, and let them drain in the sink overnight. In the morning, give them a quick rinse and then let the water drain for a few minutes. Then turn on your heat to medium-high, add your zucchini, some onions, and some red and yellow bell pepper. Add some sugar, vinegar, and spices. And a couple teaspoons of cornstarch. Let it cook for about 30 minutes on medium. Wash your jars with plenty of hot soapy water and put them in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes at 200 degrees. Now we can take our hot jars out and start filling them. And we're going to wipe the rims with vinegar on a paper towel. Put on our lids and rings and process them in a boiling water bath for 5 minutes. Now you have delicious zucchini relish, perfect for the pantry. So I'm just gonna head off and meet my friend Karen for lunch, and I think I'm gonna bring her a little jar of that relish because I think she'll enjoy it. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I do appreciate it so much. Stay well, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next one.